President Trump just threatened to move the World Cup game scheduled for Gillette Stadium. At the White House this afternoon, a reporter asked the president if he was worried about the so-called street takeovers we've seen. The reporter only mentioned Boston, but there are also takeovers in Randolph, Middleborough, and Foxborough. And here's what the president said.
The answer is yes. If somebody is doing a bad job, and if I feel there's unsafe conditions, I would call Johnny, the head of FIFA, who's phenomenal, and I would say, let's move it to another location. And he would do that. He wouldn't love to do it, but he'd do it. Very easily he'd do it. And this is the right time to do it.
It started with a threat, not from FIFA, but from Donald Trump himself. In 2025, Trump demanded that the 2026 World Cup, the biggest sporting event on the planet, move matches out of what he called unsafe American cities. He singled out Chicago, hinting that crime and poor leadership made it unfit to host. But here's the twist. The World Cup isn't run by Washington. It's run by FIFA, an international body that doesn't bend to presidents or politics. And when FIFA fired back, it didn't just defend its independence, it embarrassed Trump on the global stage. Now whispers inside FIFA suggest a quiet shift. More matches heading to Canada and Mexico, the calmer co-hosts ready to seize the spotlight Trump is burning down. So what really happens when politics collides with football? Let's dive in. Tap that like button, subscribe, and keep watching, because this story is far from over. Trump's demand wasn't just a headline, it was a declaration of control. Standing before cameras, he insisted that FIFA review its venue list and pull games from what he called crime-infested cities. Chicago was at the top of that list. His reasoning: safety, image, and politics. But for FIFA, this wasn't a safety issue. It was a sovereignty issue. The organization has one rule above all: the game comes first, not governments. Almost. Immediately, FIFA's vice president, Victor Montagliani, a Canadian, got shot back. He reminded the world that football transcends borders and that presidents come and go, but the World Cup stands beyond politics. It was a rare direct pushback, and it sent a signal through every host city from New York to Los Angeles. FIFA would not be bullied. Here's where the story takes a sharp turn, because Trump's attack didn't happen in a vacuum. It came as the US faced mounting global skepticism. There were 500 mass shootings recorded by mid-2025. Visa processing times stretched beyond a year for many nations, meaning fans from Africa, Asia, and South America, the heart of football's global audience, risked missing the event entirely. Add to that the National Guard being deployed in several major cities, and suddenly FIFA's leadership began to worry. They weren't questioning whether the US could host, they were asking if the US could host safely and fairly. Inside FIFA's Zurich headquarters, discussions reportedly turned to optimization. That's bureaucratic code for, we might need to move some games, and the quiet beneficiaries, Canada and Mexico, the calmer co-hosts waiting just across the border. Remember, the 2026 World Cup isn't just another tournament. It's the first with 48 teams spread across 3 nations and expected to draw more than 5 billion global viewers. Every decision, every venue, represents billions in tourism, broadcast, and brand value. When Trump labeled cities like Chicago or Philadelphia danger zones, he wasn't just questioning safety, he was threatening FIFA's bottom line. And that's something FIFA never tolerates, because for them, stability equals money. Canada's cities, Toronto and Vancouver, already score high on global safety and infrastructure indexes. Mexico, despite its image challenges, has seen record tourism rebounds and new stadium upgrades in Monterrey and Guadalajara. These nations aren't just co-hosts, they're now Plan B insurance policies against America's unpredictability. But let's be clear, this isn't the first time Trump has tried to muscle into sports diplomacy. Back in 2018, he tried to claim credit for North America's World Cup bid, calling it a win for America, even though it was a joint bid by 3 countries. Fast forward to 2025, and that same America First tone is pushing its partners and FIFA away. What makes this moment so volatile is timing. The World Cup is less than a year away. Stadium schedules are locked, logistics are in motion, and cities have invested hundreds of millions in preparation. Yet Trump's remarks sparked fresh uncertainty. Governors in Illinois and California were quick to defend their cities, accusing Trump of sabotaging an international event for political theater. Meanwhile, U.S. soccer officials scrambled to contain the fallout, worried that FIFA might actually shift some marquee games north, and that's not paranoia, it's precedent. FIFA has adjusted host plans before. The 2010 World Cup saw last-minute venue switches due to safety concerns in South Africa. The 2022 Qatar World Cup faced similar scrutiny over logistics and image management. When FIFA senses instability, it quietly moves its pieces. And this time, the US might be the piece that gets moved. By late summer 2025, reports emerged that FIFA had launched a logistical reassessment of certain venues. While officials downplayed it as routine, insiders told The Guardian that Toronto and Vancouver were being considered for expanded hosting rights. The reasoning was simple: safer streets, smoother visa processes, and fewer political outbursts. So, as Trump doubled down, claiming FIFA should thank me for making it safer, FIFA instead tightened its grip on neutrality. Montagliani's words echoed across international media. This is not about politics, this is about the game. But the real story isn't just about football, it's about global trust. When the world's biggest sporting organization starts looking for alternatives inside your own partnership, it signals something deeper, a loss of confidence, and that's where this narrative begins to tilt northward toward two nations quietly turning crisis into opportunity. Because as Trump tries to control FIFA, Canada and Mexico are quietly preparing to save the World Cup. While the US wrestles with politics and image control, Canada and Mexico are stepping into the spotlight, not through speeches but through quiet, strategic preparation. Toronto's BMO Field has already expanded seating to over 45,000. Vancouver's BC Place has been upgraded with smart security systems, faster entry tech, and green energy infrastructure. Mexico's Estadio Azteca, one of football's most historic arenas, has completed seismic retrofitting and digital monitoring upgrades. These aren't just improvements, they're signals to FIFA. We're ready if the US isn't. Behind closed doors, FIFA insiders reportedly admire the professionalism of Canada's and Mexico's coordination. While the US cities are bogged down by visa backlogs, public safety headlines, and political noise, Canada and Mexico have been working directly with FIFA committees on contingency plans. One senior source told Reuters that Canada's reliability is seen as the stabilizer of the North American bid. Here's the twist. What began as a US-led event is slowly becoming a regional rescue mission. In FIFA's 2026 scheduling documents, the term venue optimization appears repeatedly. It's the same phrasing used before Brazil's 2014 tournament, when games were quietly shifted between cities with fewer risks. If that history repeats, the shift north could be historic. Toronto could see not just group stage matches, but potentially a semi-final. Vancouver could host majors, knockout games drawing hundreds of thousands of international fans. And then there's Mexico, whose passion for football dwarfs anything north of the border. Monterrey and Guadalajara, two of its hosting cities, have already begun joint tourism promotions with airlines and hotels to attract fans. Meanwhile, Mexico City is marketing itself as the heart of football's return home, highlighting that the Azteca will become the first stadium in history to host 3 different World Cups. That kind of branding aligns perfectly with FIFA's global narrative, something the US is now struggling to project. But this is more than just logistics, it's optics. FIFA's leadership has grown increasingly uncomfortable with America's internal divisions spilling into global perception. Security drills, featuring National Guard units, congressional debates about event funding, and online outrage over ticket prices. All of it paints the US as chaotic, politicized, and unwelcoming. In contrast, Canada's calm diplomacy and Mexico's cultural pride offer a refreshing image of unity. It's an irony FIFA can't ignore. In 2018, when the United 2026 bid won, the slogan was 3 nations, 1 goal. It symbolized cooperation, inclusion, and continental friendship. 7 years later, that unity is cracking under Trump's rhetoric. Instead of 1 goal, it's become America first, and that shift could come with real consequences. Report by the Financial Times noted that tourism and sponsorship commitments are being quietly reviewed in light of political volatility. Global brands, but from Adidas to Visa Bois, prefer certainty, and if FIFA offers them a safer stage in Canada or Mexico, the money will follow. Every moved match means millions in new hotel bookings, ad revenue, and global coverage, not for US cities, but for their neighbors. Still, FIFA isn't publicly rebelling. It doesn't need to. Its power lies in quiet corrections. The organization can simply expand certain venues, adjust kickoff logistics, or reassign. Press operations, all bureaucratic terms that mask strategic reallocation. By the time the world notices, Toronto or Monterrey might be hosting matches originally promised to the US, and politically, the symbolism would be devastating. Imagine a scenario where Trump declares victory over FIFA's safety crackdown, only for cameras to show sold-out stadiums in Canada and Mexico, fans waving flags, broadcasters praising their hospitality, and FIFA officials applauding their stability. That contrast would speak louder than any press release. Even American sports analysts are beginning to take notice. The power vacuum Trump created isn't being filled by critics or activists. It's being filled by neighbors. Canada is projecting reliability. Mexico is radiating enthusiasm. Together, they're turning what was meant to be America's World Cup into North America's Rescue Act. As FIFA continues to emphasize neutrality, its next moves will likely follow the path of least political resistance, North and South. That means more matches, more global attention, and more trust flowing to those who simply stayed focused on the game. Because when politics collides with football, stability wins, and in 2026 the quiet irony might be this: while Trump tried to make the World Cup about America, the rest of North America made it about the world again. So what does all of this mean for 2026? It means the World Cup, once branded as a symbol of unity, is turning into a test of stability. Trump's political theater may have stolen headlines, but it's Canada and Mexico that are stealing the show. FIFA isn't picking sides. It's protecting its image, its sponsors, and the billions watching worldwide. And if that means moving the spotlight north and south, the decision will speak for itself. Because this isn't just about football, it's about what the world sees when it looks at America: division, uncertainty, and politics drowning out celebration. Meanwhile, Canada and Mexico are quietly proving that cooperation still wins, that sports diplomacy can still outshine nationalism. So here's the takeaway. In trying to protect the tournament, Trump may have handed its future to America's neighbors. And as FIFA rebalances the stage, the real question becomes, whose flag will fans be cheering under when the games begin? If you found this breakdown insightful, tap that like button, share it with someone who follows global politics, and consider subscribing, because the next chapter in this story could change how the world sees the US forever.